Everyone has told these lies when they go to school, but I'll go back to the ball. Anyone who doesn't look again must love the rulers. I'll go back to the ball. I can't believe I believe that shit. 'Cause when you take a step back and look at it, everything they show you is CGI. You gotta ask yourself why. You can tell me gravity accounts for space and time, but I'll go back to the ball. I tell you my sense is over Newton and Einstein. I'll go back to the ball. I can't believe we believe that shit. 'Cause when you take a step back and look at it, everything they show us is CGI. Gotta ask yourself why So what exactly do you think all those theorists prove? 'Cause I'll go back to the ball. All it takes is two clear eyes to see the earth don't move. I'll go back to the ball. We can't believe we believe that shit. 'Cause when we take a step back and look at it, everything they show us is CGI. You gotta ask yourself why don't they just take a photograph?
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Flat Earth Podcast. I'm your co-host, Matt Long, and with me as always is Dave. That would be Flat Earth Dave. Dave, it's been over a week now since we've done the last podcast, and there's a lot to catch up on. How about that?
Yeah, I'm excited. I've been really looking forward to it. You know, going a few days without doing a podcast makes me a little stir crazy. So we've got lots to talk about, especially since the big biblical debate.
Right, yeah, I guess just prior to that debate, was the last time you and I did a podcast, and so
slightly before, just before the debate.
Slightly before the debate. So it was good to actually. I probably hadn't seen you in person for 3 years. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been quite a while with virtual Zoom and everything. You forget when the last time you saw somebody in IRL.
Right. So I guess a big question, obviously there was the debate. I just want to confirm you are still a flat earther. Is that correct?
Well, after that debate, I was like, I might have to go back to the ball. But yes, I'm still a level, horizontal, non-rotating, topographical plane earther.
I did feel like while in the debate, like my head and my head and my heart were saying, I still believe the earth is flat. But I tell you, Greg Locke was stirring up those emotions in me, baby. And like, I could feel the tingles, and like I was getting ready to jump out of my chair and say, come on.
The greatest,
like his wife.
The greatest filming opportunity of all time was missed at that debate. What we needed was a tripod 3 feet high, directly in front of you, facing you for the entire debate. Okay, because Matt, for those who don't know, Matt was friends with Greg Locke because they spoke at Dean's Skyfall conference once or twice, and they were friends. And before the debate happened, you ran into Pastor Locke and he shook your hand. It was like, good to see you, all good and well. And then, no spoiler alert, but at the beginning of the debate, Pastor Locke said, we're all going to have this great discussion and we're all going to leave here friends. And then Matt, I've been scrambling. I've been reaching out to everybody. Did anybody film Matt Long reaching up to have Greg shake his hand, and Greg blew him off?
Yeah, so I'll tell you this. Friends is probably pretty strong. I will say, he and I spoke at that conference. I got to meet him. I listened to him speak on a topic that I agreed with him on, and I thought he was phenomenal. I thought he was one of the most incredible speakers I'd ever seen speak in my life. A lot of authority and own the room, very loud, very strong. And yeah, I was excited to be a part of that. But this time I show up. I wasn't expecting him to say hi to me, shake my hand. I walked up by the stage because the music was great, and I was just kind of walking through there. He said, "Hey, Matt." I shook his hand. He gave me a bro hug, and I said, "Hey, this is going to be fun. The atmosphere is great." And that was his attitude. He seemed laid back. He seemed excited to do it. And then, yeah, at the end, there is footage of me, by the way, standing there, and we could probably make a meme out of it at this point. But
wait,
holding my hand
of
up,
you standing. Who's got that footage?
I saw it somewhere. I'll find it.
I need to see it. I've been making some videos. I got another one in the hopper right now.
We could put some of the sad Charlie Brown music behind it, probably.
That's Curb Your Enthusiasm music.
yes. So yeah, I reached out to him, and his bodyguard, his bodyguards, like Tim Greer said, look like they're ready to go to Baghdad. Those guys are dressed up, and he puts his hand out and says, he said, "Thanks."
Wow.
Yeah, it was rough. And, after listening to the things that he said again, I'm actually embarrassed that I went to try to shake his hand afterwards, honestly, because he was quite abrasive, quite insulting. And I think probably something that would have been better would be to start like a repent chant or something.
When I saw you going up to shake his hand, I'm like, really? And then I was like, you know what? Matt's the better man. Matt's a big man. And the fact that he blew you off just cemented the feeling that, I got that whole thing, that entire weekend shook me. I'm still shaking from it.
It was quite the weekend. It started on Friday with an incredible meetup. And by the way, the weekend would have been incredible even without the debate.
Yeah.
Because every time we have some kind of flat earth get together, the most amazing people show up, the most amazing conversations happen, and people form relationships that last the rest of their lives. And this weekend was no different.
Yeah, for sure. Tim Greer, what's the name of his channel? It's
Bonafide Truth.
Bonafide Truth. He calls me up out of the blue and he goes, when the debate was first scheduled, he goes, "Hey Dave, I'm Bonafide Truth. I'm doing this meetup the night before podcasters thing. I'm going to get a room." I'm like, all right, never heard of you. Sounds good. He's like, "I'm doing the whole thing. No charge. I'm going to get the room." And I figured, all right, maybe he'll get 15, 20 people. There was like 150 people in that room the night before.
It was incredible. It was incredible. There were people they're selling books. There were people like you selling cool little trinkets and giving out flatter flyers and things like that. And then, like I said, lots of great relationships being forged. And then everyone got to address the room, which was awesome. And then we had a great dinner and, great fellowship after that.
Right. And it was so good. Just that night alone, you and I had our tables next to each other. I was selling Zulu Ones keychains, which are amazing. Great Christmas gift on the app in the shopping center. If you need a $20 Christmas gift, that is super awesome. Check
Our sponsors will be happy that you mentioned the app.
Yes. Thank you. And that's why I was selling them, just because I wanted everyone to have them. I love mine. It's great energy. And when you throw it on the counter, people are like, "What's that?" And you show it to them. It's super fun. And then just meeting new people, seeing a bunch of people from TikTok that I see. I'm looking at people. I'm like, "I know you." He goes, "No, you don't know me." I'm like, "You're on TikTok." And he's like, "Really? You know me from TikTok?" They were like so amazed. And it was great. And Wendy Stedman and her son Levi were there. She's a big fan. She shows up at everything. And Levi's little kid, he's a total flat earther, smart as can be, outgoing. And it's just so good to see that energy in people, rather than, when Paige goes out, she just got home actually. And whenever she comes back, I look at her, I go, how was it out there? Because that's how I feel every time I go out into the normie world. But at these events where you're surrounded by awake, aware people, there's nothing better.
Yeah, I tell you what, like I was really excited to meet Trey Smith. You know, I'd watched a ton of his stuff from a long time ago, before even Flat Earth, and he is just as crazy in person as he is on his videos, in a good way. He was so much fun.
Yeah, no, he sounds just like he does on his videos. You like, I'm talking to him. I'm talking to him. I was live streaming with him for a little bit and on the Jaron show, and he's just like, I'm listening to him, like I feel like I'm watching one of his videos.
Yes, yeah. He's part genius, and so sometimes it's hard to follow from us common folk. But I was excited to finally get to meet Robert Agee, Banners for Freedom, Remnant Revolution. Robert knows every single person in every single niche of trutherism, and so it was really cool to meet him in person. I think we met back in Dallas, but we've definitely talked on the phone a ton. It was really great to meet him in person. I've been wanting to do that for a while. So, but I mean, honestly, like every conversation was great, and I can't wait to do it again someday. Maybe when Greg Locke invites us back to Global Vision next year.
Global Delusion Bible Church was my last video. If you want to check it out, DITRH. I tried not to be mean. You know, I actually edited it. It was a little meaner than I made it, and I kind of kept it on the funny side. But you know, it's amazing.
Well, it certainly wasn't Humble Vision. I'll tell you that.
Global Delusion Bible Church. Come on, that's not bad.
That's really good. That's really good.
Thank you.
So then we wake up Saturday morning and we have our meetup at noon, and that was a lot of the same people, but some others that didn't make it Friday night, and that was also just as fun.
That was great. We're at a little pub on Rico's Tinfoil Sombrero, a YouTuber. He helped set that up because he's pretty local to the area. What do we have? How many people? I didn't get a head count there because we were all spread out, but there was a good number of people there also.
Yeah, I think it was less than the hotel, but it was definitely more than projected.
For sure. I called the restaurant up. I'm like, how much is the reservation for? And they're like, 25 people. I'm like, can you hold 100? You froze, Matt.
Okay. I would say welcome back, but for listeners, they never left. It was only Dave that left because his power went out, and we have to figure out where we are, what's happening. Dave, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. Every time the power goes out, you know, being truthers, we're like, like the power blinks for like 10 seconds. I look at Paige. I'm like, it's beginning. It's here. It's happening.
That's very true. Yes.
Yeah.
Very
thought it
true.
was a fuse because she turned on a light, but it was the whole neighborhood and went out, and it's back.
Gotcha. So everything's okay.
Yeah, we're all good.
All right. Very good. So, yeah, so we had a great time at the restaurant, which was all gearing up for the big debate at 6 p.m. at Global Vision Bible Church. We arrive in a Tesla, thanks to JT and Austin Whitsitt, right?
Yep.
And, yeah, we walked into, it was rainy, first of all.
Rainy, big, muddy parking lot, like a gigantic parking lot.
Yeah, it was a huge parking lot, and it was a very large tent setup, which it was probably the most impressive tent I've ever been in. It had like structural walls and then a tent ceiling, had a huge mechanical system in it. And I actually think it was very prophetic that we were in a tent, because God literally talks about a tent that he created for the sun, right? In the biblical cosmology. So I thought it was very appropriate.
Yeah, not for Greg, but appropriate for us for sure. Did God say anything about outhouses and no bathrooms?
I don't think so. You know, it was a situation where if you had to use the restroom, you did have to walk quite a far way to some porta potties outside. But I will say, like, as a Christian, I would say I'm not super against someone being really thrifty with their dollars and having a spot where more people can gather for less money. So it doesn't bother me.
Okay. Just asking if it was biblical,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. So the debate starts, and what they do is they have a little sit down before, which, by the way, from what I've heard, is Dean Odell did not know what the format of the debate was going to be until we got there.
Right. I was talking with Dean, all the way up to it. And he's like, yeah, I keep emailing him, and he's not telling us. He's not telling us the format. But on Greg's behalf, he did say, we're going to go. We're going to take our turns talking. We'll have somebody. I mean, he did lay it out kind of like he laid it out. So it seemed great at first. The look on your face, the happiness. So like, yes, this is good. Little silent applauses that you were making. And I'm like, yeah, Matt looks happy. I'm happy. This is going to go great. And how long did that last?
Well, it didn't last long. Leading up to the debate, there was the couple rants that Pastor Locke had made on his channel, which, in my opinion, were not classy. And I was just trying to picture myself as a flat earther who attended his church, literally hearing my pastor tell me to get out if those were my beliefs, when, as you know, like, we believe those things because we believe they're in the Bible. It's not like we're going to like extra biblical texts and new age stuff. Like, we feel that our biblical cosmology, as per the name, is founded in the Bible. So I couldn't imagine my pastor telling me to get out because I was taking the Bible literally. It would just be shocking. I can be okay with him disagreeing with me, but not the way Pastor Locke was disagreeing. And so he brought kind of that same attitude in the debate. And as it went on, he and Dean got into a couple arguments because Dean was saying he was being too abrasive and too condescending, which I thought Dean was correct. And I thought, Pastor Locke had an issue because Dean was saying he thought Pastor Locke was deceived, which was a fact. They both thought either one were deceived. It's just that Pastor Locke seemed to really attack it on a personal level, whereas I really felt like Dean had kept it more professional, less individual. Yeah. What did you say?
No, I said biblical. He kept it.
Biblical.
And here's the thing. It was a Christian event, right? You could say this was a Christian event, but it wasn't a Christian debate. It was a debate whether you believe in the Bible or not. It didn't matter. It was a debate about what the Bible is talking about. It's a debate about what the Bible is talking about. And you will agree, there are some things that cannot be things in the Bible that you can interpret only a certain way. And then there's other things that you're like, well, it could be this, it could be that, right? And you have to sort that out from your paradigm, your understanding of where you live. So
correct.
I was a little upset that we couldn't show him the physical scientific proofs of the earth to show him, okay, if it means this or that, well, this is where we live. We prove that. So then that you can narrow down some passages in the Bible, knowing the science of the flat earth. We can see too far. Water lays flat. Oh my God, we're going to talk about that for a second. That will help you determine determine what the verse in the Bible means. What do you think? Discern.
Yeah, I agree. The problem was Pastor Locke had advertised this as Dean and I are going to have a debate on what the Bible says about the shape of the earth.
Yep.
And then he formatted it to where they had a little conversation at the beginning where he didn't bring up verses about the Bible. He wanted to ask Dean about over the curve missile technology and commercial airline pilots and things like that, which, to me, there's people on both sides which can give you their angle on both of those. We obviously have explanations for how those things work on a flat earth because that's where we live, and so they have to function here properly. And so I think it was a little bit of a strategy to kind of throw Dean off his game before Dean made his presentation. But something that Dean did a really good job on is, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish that point.
I was just say Dean knew that there would be a lot of atheists watching, and so he placed a large portion of his time on how flat earth has helped people come from a place of not believing in God to finding out the truth about where we live and how that ultimately led them to believing the Bible. So Dean placed a good amount of emphasis on that. Then he started into the scriptures, and by the time Greg actually got up, it had been a couple hours. Like
Over
it had
two.
been a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to Greg's credit, Greg sat in the chair, didn't say a word. And I'm not sure that he listened to every single thing, because you could see him looking down and
he did not.
And chatting with staff a little bit. And he also did admit when he got up there that he learned some stuff. I remember him saying that. The problem is, just like it seems like every other situation, when someone wants to debunk flat Earth, they want to use things that we don't believe. Like every single time.
That was amazing. We'll talk about that. Dean, when you take all the stuff Dean did at the beginning and just stick with Dean's biblical stuff, he didn't touch one of those. He pulled out Nathan Roberts.
And now when you say he, you're talking about Greg Locke. He did not.
Greg Locke didn't touch one of those. In his rebuttal, he pulled out a meme that's been going around, and it's been going around probably by Globers and some flat earthers that just didn't read it. And Greg Locke said, you guys pass this around and don't even read it. That might be true for some flat earthers. There might be some people that they read two lines and this is good, 100 Bible verses or whatever it was. But he used that, and we all agree that list is nuts. Half that list is complete and total nonsense, and he's debating this list.
Yeah, so the list was like the 240 plus verses that 40. Now it says say flat Earth, but obviously they don't all say flat Earth, but they do, the majority of them, in my opinion, I would say at least 60% are appropriate verses on that list that may not say flat Earth, but they depict the cosmology that the authors of the Bible had, right? So an example that Greg brought up was like, Daniel had a dream that there was a large tree that could be seen by the whole earth, okay? And he's like, this is some guy's dream. This isn't God saying. And we agree. Like, we're not saying that is God saying that the earth is flat, but it is a vision that Daniel is having related to his cosmology, that if there was a large enough tree in the center of the earth, that it could be seen possibly by all the inhabitants, because he believes in a flat, non-rotating earth under a firmament.
Yeah.
So the point that Dean brought up was like, you're debating the guy who made this list, not me. I didn't bring up one of these. You need to respond to my arguments.
He wouldn't do it.
And he wouldn't do it. Do you want to move on to the stuff that he did bring up? Because I have some opinions on that. Or do you have more on Dean?
A couple things. I saw that we turned a really hard left-hand turn when he said that, but he loves the movie Behind the Curve. Okay. So he's watching Netflix, that, a hit piece that was deceptive. And then he says the earth is rising. You guys believe that the earth is rising at 9.8 meters per second for gravity. And nobody believes that. And so we're gonna go into his press statement in a moment, but he says that we kept interrupting him. But the thing is, Dean was up there quoting the Bible. Everyone was quiet listening, and he was doing a great job. Then Greg got up there and started strawmanning us. And when you can only strawman somebody so many times, where you're just blatantly lying and misrepresenting, that the crowd did yell out, "That's not what we believe," and he had a problem with that.
That's correct. And I would say, you think there were 1,500 people there, 2,000? What do you think the number?
There was over 2,000. I was thinking 3,000, but then I recounted. There was over 2,000.
Okay, so over 2,000 people there. And I would say 60 to 70% were flat earthers, 75%.
Somewhere in there, somewhere around that area.
Somewhere in there. So we had the majority of the room, and that is a side effect of flat earthers wanting to support what's happening, and the fact that it's hard to find a globe earther who is as staunchly excited about globe earth as maybe a flat earther is for it to break through. And so it was, whereas Greg did have people murmuring at times, like right directly behind us when Dean would make a comment, because we had the majority of the room, it probably did seem a little bit louder and a little bit more obnoxious, except that our people were also responding to the abrasiveness of Greg Locke and the condescending tone at which he was talking.
And
So
the misrepresentation, the straw manning of us. When they say you guys believe the earth is rising, I can't keep quiet. You, me and Austin were sitting front and center. And at one point when he was, just saying stuff that wasn't us, I had to yell out. I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, I believe you said, we don't believe that. I believe this is what you said.
And
so yeah.
Good.
It was tough sitting through that, not being the person with the microphone in their hand. And I'm sure, Dean was over there jotting down notes, ready to make his rebuttal. And maybe what we should do, we should take a break. And when we come back, we'll talk about the rebuttal, and we'll talk about the press statement that Greg Locke put out. And what else did you want to comment on?
One other comment when I want to mention that he said is when he started talking about water not being flat, and he starts talking about dewdrops and raindrops and waves. And I always tell flat earthers this, and I learned this the hard way. You can't say water doesn't bend. That is an untrue statement. You have to say large bodies of water at rest lie flat. There's no fixing that. There's no misinterpreting it. Large bodies, how large? Anything bigger than a gallon. Don't say a cup, because a cup you can overfill. The surface tension on a 10-ounce glass of water, you can make it curved. So anything bigger than a gallon. Large bodies of water at rest lie flat.
Yeah, I think to me, a large body of water is a little bit bigger than a gallon, but I agree. Like, the smaller you get, the harder it is to make a generic statement. And it is obvious. Yeah, he pulled out a level and showed everyone how there's a bubble inside the level.
The bubble is curved.
Right. Therefore, we live on a spinning ball.
Therefore, we live on a spinning ball. But wait, a bubble is curved. Bubble is, and it's an air bubble. The water lies flat. Amazing. Just so amazing.
Yeah, totally amazing. So why don't we take a break? We'll come back. We'll talk about Greg's response. We'll talk about the things that Greg brought up that Dean didn't get a chance to respond to. And we'll talk about the amazing press statement put out by Global Vision Bible Church and anything else. And just a reminder, if you guys want to find, what do you got, Dave?
No, I was going to say, and we're going to talk about, or Dean said, where Greg Locke said that they've known it for 2,000 years. Well, that's not true, and we're gonna point you somewhere else. Go ahead.
Great, yeah. So we'll take a break. Just a reminder, you guys can find me at Matt Son of a Chris on any social media, and you can find Dave at flatearthdave.com.
Right. We'll be right back.
Following announcement has been paid for by
The Flat Earth Podcast. You want to leave a digital voicemail for us? Head over to theflatearthpodcast.com and click on the blue link that reads, "Got a question? Send us a message."
You can do it from your iPhone or from your computer. First time you do it on your cellular phone, you'll have to download a little app. But after that, you can leave us all kinds of messages. If you want to be anonymous, you can make up a name, make up an email address. We don't care. We just want to hear what you have to say.
We'll do our best to play or answer these questions and comments on future episodes right here on the Flat Earth Podcast. Download the SpeakPipe app and check us out at theflatearthpodcast.com. The Flat Earth Podcast. If you're watching this audio on YouTube right now and you're not familiar with the world of podcasting, there's a far better way to listen to the Flat Earth Podcast each and every week.
Think of it like your TiVo or your DVR is to your television. You subscribe to whatever show that you like. Whenever a new episode comes out, it records it, downloads it, and notifies you that there's a new episode for easy listening anywhere. Another great feature on most podcast players is you could speed up if you want to hear stuff even faster, or more importantly, it has a jump back and jump forward 30 seconds so you could skip annoying announcements like this.
We're on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and so many more. If we're not on your favorite podcast app, send us a message and let us know to make sure we will be. The Flat Earth Podcast.
Hey, Dave here. You may think I'm super obnoxious and super ugly, and I'm just fine with that. Because the truth is the truth, however. Flat Earth is a truth that I am obsessed with. Yeah, I do make fallacious arguments about it, but somebody has to pay the bills. Otherwise, my mom will kick me out of her basement. I have to admit, I have a very guilty pleasure. It's that amazing Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app that Flat Earth Dave has on his website. It's absolutely amazing. The new video search completely destroys what YouTube has tried to do with their algorithm. The image search feature is also awesome, as it makes pulling up any topic of images a breeze. I hope Flat Earth Dave doesn't start adding mean memes of me. The new social media and profile section is really bringing people together, and I'm wondering if I should get on there so maybe I could meet someone. I'm so tired of staying in this basement playing with myself. Well, I have to admit it looks like Flat Earth is going viral in 2024. I guess I'm going to have to jump ship as me and my boyfriend Strawman Dan have failed in our missions. Alright, I guess that's it for now. I'm psyched for a new episode of the Flat Earth Podcast with Flat Earth Dave and his friend Matt.
Help is here. It's taken a long time. It's Flat Earth Sun and Moon Clock App Clock. It's not hyperbole. It's a fact. It's going to change the paradigm. Kamala's got it. I like to quote Franklin Rosalie, don't hide from the truth. I need everyone to get it. The Flat Earth Moon and Sun App Clock App. Get it on your phone. I know we can do this.
Hello, listeners. Donald J. Trump here with tremendous news for everybody. This is so good. You know, I love listening to you guys. We got the Air Force. We got the Space Force. And now I'm announcing, I was just joking, and then we said, what a great idea. We're going to have the Flat Earth Force. Flat Earth Force. This is so important. Tremendous stuff for all mankind. And Dave, I want you're going to be heading up the Department of Homeland Security, going to do such a good job. Matt, too, you're going to be there as well. Melania keeps asking, where's Jay? She loves his voice, you know. I say, honey, it's okay. Jay's gone to China. He's in China right now, but he'll be back soon, I'm sure. The Flat Earth Podcast, making America flat again. China is flat too, right? It's flat. I love you guys. Keep it up. Great job.
The Flat Earth Man album is out right now.
Oh, that's just faking everything that you have ever seen. Do you still believe we went to the moon? Do you still believe what they're telling you? All you're watching is a puppet show. Yeah, the whole world's a stage. Don't believe in gravity. Ain't no photographs or somebody tell me why. Welcome to the satellite folks. Just another one of them NASA jokes. Don't let them take your mind.
Don't let them take your mind, man.
There's no such thing as outer space. We made it all up. Yeah, space is fake. Oh, I don't want to talk about NASA ever again.
The Flat Earth Man album is out now.
I always wanted to be an astronaut. I'll be in space. At least that's what I thought.
Okay, welcome back, Dave. We were discussing the December 2nd Shape of the Earth debate. Before we get back into that, though, let's talk about some of the new documentaries and stuff that's out. I'm sure you can find them somewhere on the app, I would suppose.
Yeah, there's so many new documentaries. It's amazing how many documentaries came out in the last week since we did this podcast. But a great biblical one is called Heliosaucery by Earthen Vessels. Again, these can all be found on the app on the web button page under Biblical Flat Earth. Well, that one's under Biblical Flat Earth. There's also since we did this behind the curve. Oops. Level the next, not the next level. What's the heck the one movie that I was in? Level with Me. There we go. Level with Me by Sean Hebler.
I thought we were having a King to Ka moment there.
That was a King to Ka moment. For those of you that don't know what that is, go back to episode 1 and start there until you find out.
There you go.
And then there's just a whole bunch. So check out the Flat Earth movies section on the app. And in the last week, the app has also taken a lot of, we've gotten a lot of upgrades. We have a social media section. Profiles have been kind of turned into like Facebook style. There's now video search, which is getting better and better. So people, Dave, what's this video? Where's that video? And a lot of them you can find in the frequently asked questions section. But now I just have a video search. So if you just remember anything, remember the video of the guys on the space station that I was showing them a shot from the space station and saying, where's the land? And the guys were trying to defend it, the Globers. And then we flipped it over and showed it was just filmed from our front yard.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's say you're looking for that one and you could just remember, like, it was the guy's name was Cheeks. It was Joey and Cheeks. Just type in Cheeks in the search engine. It'll come right up. The clip, the whole video will come up. Or Neo Human Eve, which is this guy put out 4 amazing videos since our last podcast. And just type in Neo Human and watch those 4 videos. There are 4 excellent short videos about Flat Earth. So back to you.
Yeah, the search function is pretty amazing, and we used it to find the time that we went on Paul and the Plane show and kept score on how many times we could either say DITRH, Woketown, or Mark Sargent. It was
without telling you, we had different point scores, and then we were on Paul's show, and we didn't tell him we were playing this game. So Matt and I are just constantly doing this, and I rewatched some of it the other day. It is still the funniest podcast I've ever done. And if you look for it, just go on the app and search Paul on the Plane. It'll come right up, number 1.
Yeah, you should see the scoreboard on the thumbnail.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yes. We had mentioned, I guess in relation to the app, I saw you doing some in-person technical support while we were at the debate.
Man. Yeah, so I just want to say death to all Android users. Okay, I'm summoning death upon all of you and all of your devices. All right, so we can just live in the world of Apple iPhones. That would be great. But there's a bunch of every time I add something, there's little bugs. So this works and that doesn't work. We're literally, as the recording of this podcast, about to upload another update which should remove those bugs. So thank you for everybody for being patient. As I add more features, the app just gets more and more complicated as far as programming, and we're working out all those bugs. So it's.
But you'd say that's atypical for you to do in-person tech support, right? Like you don't typically do that.
Well, when I go to an event, if someone's having an issue, I'm gladly happy to help them. But there was a little heavy this time, and it was good though because I only have 7 Android phones and 3 iPhones to test. So you should see me sitting on my couch with all of these phones going, and it's so difficult for my ADD brain to keep track of which one did what, and each one has
you look like Jason Bourne or something. How many passports do you have?
Yeah, it's crazy. But it's getting to that point where it's going to be flawless, and we're about to get really big because I got a big podcast coming out. I was on the Jack Vale show. Did you hear about that?
I did. Yeah. What a cool guy.
Yeah, great guy. And what's funny is I was thinking about going to this debate in Tennessee. I'm like, do I really want to, go there? And while I'm deciding whether I want to do it, I probably was going to do it anyway. I get an email from Jack Vale introducing himself. He's like, hey, I want you to do, in studio. We'll fly you down to Tennessee. I'm like, wait, where? And it's like, Nashville. And I call him up. I go, December 1st? He said, yeah, that works. I'm like, done. So he flew me down, did a 3-hour in-studio podcast. That's coming out this Monday, whatever that date is. So today is the Monday, I don't know, 12th or 13th, something like that.
Yeah, awesome. So we also heard that Tim Greer and others are looking for flat earth pastors to help spread this information to. And I think that's probably a great idea with the exposure that this debate got. There'll probably be a lot of pastors with questions.
100%. And there's a lot of pastors that before this debate were interested. And I always tell people, when they want to talk to their pastor, you can't go, hey, watch Heliosaucery. It's a 2-hour video. It's hard to get somebody to watch a 2-hour video if they're not completely obsessed with the topic. So my favorite short pastor video is called Dear Pastor by, who's that by?
Yeah, I think it's by Matt Long.
Matt Long, that's right. And that is on the top of the biblical playlist inside of the app on the web button page. And I just checked out. It's a 7-minute pitch by Matt talking about a pastor's point of view, looking at the Bible, and him offering his assistance to help lead the pastor towards making a educated decision on what these biblical verses mean. So I think pastors and pilots, 2024 is going to be the year of pastors and pilots.
Yeah, I like that. I think the only bad thing about that video is it still talks about Woke Town on there, which might give you a bad taste.
One of my favorite mugs, just because of the size and weight and the way it holds, it's the way, just a great quality tea mug. It says woke on it. When woke was cool.
Yeah, once Trump came out and said, you know what woke means, right? It means you're a loser.
I was like, oh man, I can't throw this mug out. It's so big and nice and it's good, but I never use it on a podcast though.
Well, and I assume if I had left my channel name as Woketown, they wouldn't have taken it down. They would have left it up.
Maybe.
So part of my pain is getting all my stuff onto the new channel at Matt, son of Chris. But anyways, let's get back to the debate. Okay. Do you want to discuss anything before I go into the couple of verses that Pastor Locke brought up?
When I talked about the bubble, that was ridiculous. The droplets of water, that was ridiculous. The rising of the earth, that was ridiculous.
Yeah, he went through the 240 verses. That was ridiculous.
Yeah. And he didn't, he's very animated. He'd be great if he had a multi-level marketing product and did some infomercials for 2:00 in the morning. He'd be amazing. I'd buy. I'm in.
Yeah, he really does bring the energy.
For sure. Some people are accusing him of being on some substance or something. I don't know if that's the case. I think he's just, I don't know. He's possessed by some spirit. I don't know what spirit that is.
Yeah, I would love to leave the door open for him to, invite me back and talk flat earth with him. Obviously that's kind of a joke, but he made some changes early in his career and some stuff that he admitted he was wrong on. I do think with the hard stance that he's made here that I don't know that it'll be possible to change his mind.
There's some people that are thinking that he has made a deal and is doing this on purpose and it's all planned and he's refusing. I kind of lean towards, I don't think there's as many paid shills as people think. I think they're more of possessed, where they get this seed, this spirit, this evil spirit that may guide them in what they're doing and give them, his church is pretty gigantic. And, maybe these are the rewards of, not following the true God.
Well, and this is something that my wife and I have talked about a lot, in that people literally get an anointing on their life in a certain area, and God uses that, and he wakes a lot of people up in a certain area, which Pastor Locke did wake a lot of people up during the Fauci era. And people were coming to his church because he left it open. He wasn't requiring math. And he was a patriot, in my opinion, in that era. But I believe he's missing it here. And it's unfortunate, but that happens a lot. I think people get anointing in their lives in certain areas. And I think the key is to not burn bridges in the other areas, right? Like, for example, the pastor of the church that we go to in Texas, Troy Brewer, phenomenal. Saves more people, more boys and girls from sex trafficking than anyone else in the world, in my opinion, and feeds more people in our area than any other pastor, but he doesn't get the cosmology. Now, I don't take offense by it because he's not abrasive about it, right? He knows flat earth is out there, but he doesn't take it to the pulpit. He doesn't call him stupid. He doesn't say, leave my church if that's what you believe. No, he just kind of like rises above that conversation and concentrates on the stuff that he feels an anointing by. And in that way, he's not getting in the way, right? Like, if people are being saved by flat earth, which I believe they are, atheists are coming to Christ through flat earth, and Greg Locke is going to stand in the way of that. Now, Greg Locke applauded every time there was a testimony of someone finding Christ through flat earth. He clapped from his chair. But then he also mocked it and is now going to keep a lot of people from looking into flat earth, which, if you're a non-Christian, flat earth can save you. If you're a Christian, it can bring you closer to God. Like, so he could be robbing people of a closer relationship to God. And I just think it's dangerous.
He's also pushing people because Pastor Dean had a church service at the last minute church service at the hotel the next day. 250 plus people were there. And there and all through the weekend, people came up to me and said, "Hey, Dave, I'm not a Bible Jesus Christian, but I used to be, but I some of them used to be, but I left. I had a falling out and I'm kind of lost and I don't know." And we had a great heart-to-heart conversation about, how this world is created, how we're at the center of creation, how there is a God. And it brought a lot of joy to those people I was talking to. I don't talk to people about my relationship with the Creator because it's really a personal thing for me. But somebody like that, I'm happy to just share everything. But when a Christian, good.
I was going to say, I think it's because they're coming from a similar place that you came from. And when that's the case, you feel comfortable and feel like you could mentor this person. And that's why I speak from the place that I speak from, because when I was in my 20s, I didn't believe the Bible because of the heliocentric, ever expanding universe and the fact that all these scientists said it was proven and how this place came here without the help of an all-loving, all-powerful creator. I come from that angle and I teach on that angle because it's where I came from. I came from a place where I didn't think you could trust the Bible. Then I did the research on the reliability of the scriptures. Now I teach on it. And so for you, coming from the background that you came from, maybe you don't feel comfortable just like throwing Jesus loves you on someone, but you can speak from a place that you came from, where you are and where you're headed.
100%. And I am very confident in where I am, where my relationship with the Creator is, and my interpretation of how that all works. I have no fear that I'm going to hell. Although many Globers tell me that all the time, especially since I'm talking to kids.
Right.
Telling them about flat Earth. By the way, that's the new thing is you're a child abuser if you teach your kid flat Earth. That's their new meme they're going after. So in response to that, we all need to talk to more children about flat Earth.
Yes, agreed. Since everything's the opposite. Okay, so I want to get into the couple points that Greg Locke brought up. Okay, the two main ones. And to start, this next couple verses this is from Psalm 103, and it's verse 11 and 12. And if you guys had watched Greg Locke prior to the debate, this was the one verse that he was saying he had. No one really knew what he was going to bring. And this is it. Verse 11, it says, "For as the heaven is high above the earth, so great is the mercy toward them that fear him." Verse 12 then says, "As far as the east is from the west, so far hath he removed our transgressions from us." So in verse 11, "For as heaven is high above the earth, so great is his mercy," he's saying that because he's a globe earther and they have infinite space, their mercy is infinite. But a flat earther, because there's a firmament, our mercy has a cap on it. Therefore, Earth's a globe.
Interesting.
Which
verse was it where God rolls back the heavens, the rolls back the heavens like a scroll?
That's probably in Matthew 24 or Revelation.
So that's one that Dean brought up, and the story, in the Bible where it says Jesus can come back and all men on earth will see him. And flat earthers say, how could that be if we're a ball? And right in lockstep, Greg comes out with, we all have technology and we'll see them on our smartphones, which was hysterical.
Yes. And in addition, something that's interesting about this verse is it says, "For as high as heaven is above the earth, so great is his mercy." Well, I like to think of it as like God is sitting directly above the North Pole, in the sides of the north, as the Bible says. And what's amazing is like the closer you get to God in, say, a cross section of the flat earth model, the closer you get to God, the greater that mercy is, because the higher the heaven is above the earth. So I think it's still a great illustration. And then the next verse, "As far as the east is from the west," Greg Locke assumed that on the flat earth model, this would not work, that if you were to head east, you would eventually go off the edge, or if you were to head west, you would eventually go off the edge. But no, in fact, the flat Earth model in the Northern Hemisphere is exactly like the Northern Hemisphere of the globe model, where you can continue in the east and come back around in the same place without having to turn around and go west. So it was like the one verse that he was basing his entire claim on is something that works on both.
Yeah, that was amazing. I was hoping for the opportunity to address that with him, but that certainly didn't happen.
Yeah, it didn't happen.
So the idea of God being above the North Star and seeing all the earth, I still have a little bit of a problem with that, because the earth is so big, it's hard to see, from you. You can't see the North Star from Australia because it's so far away and it merges into the horizon due to perspective. But if God scrolls back the firmament, that means he can be higher. He could be the Most High, and then have a perfect view. The sky is what limits our view. The sky is the limit. So if he scrolls back the sky, then the view will be amazing for everybody. Is that where the Most High comes from? He's the Most High?
I think it's probably, poetic, but it could also be very literal as well. I mean, because there were multiple gods in the Old Testament, he was known as the Most High God, because all these other nations had multiple gods. And so people who didn't know the name of God could refer to him as the Most High God.
Okay.
Or if someone was to go evangelize into one of these cultures that had many gods, they could refer to the God of the Bible as the Most High God. And he, in fact, is the Most High God because he is the highest.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah. I tend to think of God standing on the firmament on his sea of glass, as it depicts in Revelation, with the emerald rainbow around his throne, which is the Northern Lights, which was a great part of the presentation that he made. I got chills during that part. And I don't think God is in water. Okay. I don't think God is swimming around. I think the waters above cover the entire firmament except for the small little portion that God is standing on.
Kind of like a bubble. He's in the bubble.
Yes, directly above the North Pole. And so I don't know what that does as far as vision goes. Maybe you'll be able to see a little better. I'm not sure. I'd love to build a model of it, but something I'm conceptually working on in my brain. But what I want to get to is the verses that basically ended the debate. And it had to do with Dean Odell's book, which is Like Clay Under the Seal. And if you guys are familiar with Job 38, verse 14, it says, "It is turned as clay to the seal." And I'm reading in the King James. "And they stand as a garment." And what Greg Locke was trying to do was to prove that this verse was not referring to the earth, but in fact the sunrise. And I think he thought if he could disprove the title of Dean Odell's book, basically the whole conversation was null. So what's interesting is I'll start in verse 12. And it says, "Hast thou commanded the morning since thy days, and caused the day spring," otherwise known as the sunrise, "to know his place, that it might take hold of the ends of the earth, that the wicked might be shaken out of it. It is turned as clay to the seal, and they stand as a garment." And what Greg Locke was saying is that in verse 14, when it says it is turned as clay, it's referring to the sunrise in verse 12. The only problem is there's another noun that was mentioned after that in verse 13, which is the earth. And so Greg Locke, once the rebuttal stopped and they basically just started having a conversation and yelling at each other, Greg Locke asked if Dean Odell thought that it in verse 14 was not referring to the sunrise. And Dean said, "Yeah, I don't believe that." And at that point, Greg Locke said, "Turn his mic off, get out." And Dean tried to speak on the mic. He saw that it didn't work, so he tossed it over to Greg, and Greg swatted it out of the air, which I thought was just a really awesome ending. It was very like UFC.
It was an amazing ending. And not 10 minutes later, Matt Long makes the greatest video meme ever of Neil deGrasse Tyson going, "This is gravity." And then he cuts to the microphone, swat to the ground, It was beautiful. And then I actually
it was a very quick turnaround.
Yeah. So the memes rule the world. It's amazing. Because we're all
rule the world, memes change the world. And one other comment I have on this verse is, it says, and it takes shape like clay under the seal. But if you read the NIV says the earth takes shape like clay under the seal. It's quite obvious that the it in 14 is referring to the earth, which was just referred to in verse 13, not skipping a verse and going back to the sunrise in verse 12. So NIV doesn't get a lot right, but they got that right.
Another thing that that Greg said was that we've known the earth has been a globe for 2,000 years. I think he was referring to Eratosthenes, which there's a whole section on Eratosthenes was wrong and didn't exist in the app. But there's a new movie. That's another movie that I didn't mention. It's in the movie section on the app, and it's called The Mechanical Realm by the makers of, I keep trying to say Behind the Curve, Beyond the Curve. God, it's called The Mechanical Realm, and it's about the Antikythera mechanism and how that actually is a working model of the flat earth from an ancient computer that, according to history, should not exist. So
right, it shouldn't exist, and in Jesus's time, Jesus literally said to the Pharisees, saying, you understand the face of the sky and the face of the earth, but you do not understand the time in which you live. Basically saying, like, you guys understand how this whole place works. You navigate by the stars. You can predict celestial phenomena using things like the Antikythera device, like an astrolabe.
Right.
And yet they didn't understand the urgency and the time in which they lived. So even Jesus agreed that the cosmology of the time was the correct cosmology. And Jesus, by the way, according to John 1, Hebrews 1, and Colossians 1, is the creator. So I think he would know what he's talking about.
And the maker of that, Vic Adrazi, was also made Flatten the Curve, which is a bunch of military pilots and military people blowing the whistle on how their weapon systems and their aircraft absolutely prove the Earth is a flat, non-rotating plane. So
I need to watch that because Greg Locke did bring that up.
Yeah. So if Greg had watched The Mechanical Realm and Flatten the Curve, both which can be found right on the top of the list in the Flat Earth documentary section of the app, watch those. And if he watched those, there may not have been a debate. He might have just said, I need to have a sit down with you guys and learn some things. But that didn't happen.
I'm glad he didn't watch. I'm glad he didn't watch them because we wouldn't have anything to talk about. And it was so much fun. I think the common denominator is if he had the app, he would be a flat earther, right? Take the 2-week challenge.
I think his son has the app. The son who he quoted couldn't preach to an outhouse. That was when I realized that was really a horrible thing to say. And then, of course,
I could never imagine. He said he would not let his 20-year-old son pastor an outhouse.
And is that because his son is a flat earther?
That's what I've heard, but I don't know that to be true. I had also heard that he fired his head of security, who was a flat earther.
That is true. He found out his head of security was at the Friday night meetup, and he fired him right on the spot, right there during the, at the end of the debate.
Wow.
Sounds like a man in panic mode to me. And, he said some very mean things that really, Matt, it really affected me. And I've been trying to shake it. I'm just kind of over it today. But,
I agree.
Seeing a pastor, big pastor with leading that many people, being that horribly mean to people and unduly so. You saw my Mark Sargent video that I made. I had to make it. He's criticizing Mark Sargent for buying a house with his mother because she had cancer and his sister wasn't able to take care of her. Right? That is the most Christian thing I could think of. And he made fun of that, and it really upset me. I told Mark, hold on, I showed Mark the video, and he's like, wow, that's really good. I said, Mark, I don't know why that upset me so much. I don't even like you that much.
Well, and that's why I try to not say too much, because I don't know what's happening in the background with Greg Locke. I don't know what his intentions truly are, but I do agree. It was like going to a fight. Like, it was two alphas right in each other's face, not backing down. So from that aspect, it was very exciting to watch. But the ending was something that just left me like you said, just like emotionally, spiritually, a little bit disturbed, a little bit uneasy for a pastor to take those positions and ultimately write this statement, which I'm about to read, which is inherently false. And I think I'll just read through this. You're welcome to stop me or just let me go through the whole thing. But anyone who's there will understand that this statement is overly dramatic and inherently false. And like you can't even say this is metaphor because it wouldn't connect to what actually happened. So this is a statement from Greg Locke and his church on the December 2nd debate.
This says it all. This says it all. Go ahead.
Okay. The December 2nd Flat Earth debate between Pastor Dean Odle, Flat Earth, and host Pastor Greg Locke, Spherical Earth, came to an abrupt end after 4 long hours when Locke decided Odle and his followers, who were the large majority of attendees, had not come in good faith, but were there only to attack, intimidate, and provoke Locke and others who were there for a peaceful debate based on the Bible. Locke opened the evening in the spirit of unity and reconciliation and delivered clear instructions to the crowd to remain civil and loving, but Odle wasted no time to angrily threaten a walkout after Locke levied his first line of questioning.
All right, stop.
Odle, okay.
So I don't think Dean only said that once near the very end. He's like, we can end this now or something like that. It was right near the end, unless I'm remembering that wrong.
I think there might have been something a little bit sooner before Dean gave his presentation saying something like, if this is the attitude, like it's not what I showed up for.
Yeah. That was hardly a threat. That was just like, hey, let's get back on track. All right, go ahead.
Yes. Odle repeated this statement. Odle repeated this threat every time Locke challenged him on a point of fact. But Locke continued showing great restraint, even I'm having trouble not laughing while reading this. Great restraint, even while Odle delivered his opening presentation by stating the false premise that the Bible was not in any way a book of metaphors, but had to be taken literally at all times, which is false. He did not say the Bible had to be taken literally at all times. Odle then went on to deliver a 2-hour filibuster wrought with pseudoscience, fallacies, and gross misrepresentations of Scripture. There's more. Locke and his minority crowd remained quiet and civil throughout Odle's very long monologue and even applauded along with Locke when appropriate, never once disturbing Odle. Locke then followed with his very brief biblical presentation, but Odle's crowd repeatedly interrupted Locke with heckling and disruptive outbursts.
All right, hold on. The outburst was because he was lying. He was saying stuff about us that we believe, quoting the Nathan Roberts things that we don't believe. It's called strawmanning. When you have a solid argument, you base it on facts. You don't have to lie and misrepresent. And that's what he was doing. And that's why the crowd tried to steer him away from that. All right, go ahead.
Correct. When Locke concluded his opening presentation, Odle retorted with more combative language and continued bullying posture while denying the Bible truth Locke had presented, which further incited his crowd to outbursts that put the security team on high alert. Locke eventually decided he had seen enough and told Odle to leave. When Odle responded by throwing his microphone at Locke, it was clear that he had gotten exactly what he came for.
All right, stop. Did he throw it or did he realize it was off? He did an underhand lob toss. Kind of just think of the arc of a SpaceX rocket. It's just a nice
if you can, parabolic
toss.
Yes. The only difference is that it wasn't full of helium, so it didn't float, right? It came back a lot sooner. It was a baby toss. Odle tried to talk into the microphone. He saw that it didn't work. And like anyone would do, would be kind of upset and probably not want to walk over and hand it to Greg. So he tossed it to him very gently.
He could have dropped it, which would have been worse.
Yeah. At which point Greg swatted it out of the air.
That was amazing.
What would have been really what if Locke would have like gotten hit and like done like a soccer fall, you know?
Like, oh, you hurt me.
Yeah, right. All right, moving on. The Global Vision Bible Church security team, headed up by a flat earther, did an admirable job of keeping the peace while Odell's flat earth supporters erupted with anger and took over the floor.
No.
What does that mean? No one took over. We left.
We got up.
Everybody.
We walked out. You were the only one that tried to storm the stage to shake his hand.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I rushed the stage.
You rushed the stage to shake his hand.
Try to say bye.
Where did all those guys come out that were ready to go in Kandahar? You know, they looked like they were ready to go into Afghanistan.
Yeah, they looked legit.
All black jackets, crazy.
I think they were there the whole time, but spread out, and then seeing them all together.
Yeah, that was a little shocking.
Was a bit shocking.
Yeah.
Several of Odell's supporters had to be restrained for rushing towards Locke while yelling profanities, and many more screamed and raged at the small number of Global Vision members in attendance. Okay, so nobody had to be restrained. The person who had to be restrained was someone from Locke's church who was trying to assault Nathan Thompson. Do you remember that?
I didn't see that.
Did you? Okay, so someone was like just yelling at Nathan Thompson. Nathan Thompson got it on video. This guy like yelling and trying to incite something. I'm not going to guess, but anyways, not a single person had to be restrained for rushing the stage. The visitors continued raging in the parking lot as some defiantly smoked marijuana in the parking lot.
Probably his son. Other people were speculating Greg's son
in the outhouse, right?
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Don't know. I don't know who was, if anybody was.
But the reason people were in the parking lot is because they left the auditorium. They left the tent.
And they were milling around, talking to each other, going, wow, that's amazing, and waiting for their friends. That's all that was going on.
Yeah. Where are we going? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. One enraged visitor rammed 3 cars as he sped away, further necessitating police involvement. I didn't hear about that.
I didn't see that either, but maybe it was one of their church people that did that. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, if a car accident happened because somebody was driving fast, that could happen. Don't know if it's true. Didn't see it.
But ramming 3 cars on your way out?
Yeah, I don't think so. Ramming. That's a ramming. We would have all heard that.
Yes. And we were there a while. Like it would have happened after we left in our Tesla, which was super quiet. And
I tried to offer a flyer and a sticker to one of the cops, and he wanted nothing with it. Nothing of it. He did not want a flat earth biblical flyer.
Which, by the way, we were riding a Tesla, and I think I just need to caveat that one of the buddies we were with, JT Peoples, had rented it, and so we were riding around in it, and it has amazing features. But we decided, like, why can't you put these amazing features in a gas vehicle, right? Like, why do they have to just be in the Tesla?
True.
Yeah. All right. So continuing on. Sadly, despite 4 very difficult hours, the actual debate never happened. For this and for the bad faith behavior of Odell and his flat earth supporters, Global Vision Bible Church and Locke Media have decided to remove the event from all platform archives. Kind of like they deleted the moon landing footage and telemetry data, right? Why would they do that? That's so weird. Weird.
Well, if you delete it, never happened.
Right. Good thing like 10 people were streaming this thing and filming it.
Yeah, there's clean copies of their feed that are going around and people are uploading it. So I'm actually going to add a button on the More Resources page that's going to have all of the Greg Locke interviews and everything about the debate. It's going to be a whole separate section that you can find on the app.
Right. So it continues on. We will not help them promote their deceptive fairy tales and conspiracy theories, as we consider them to be doctrines of demons. The truth is clear. The Bible never claims that the earth is flat. Now, he said that a number of times, and I think he's actually, what he's trying to stick behind is that you are correct. There is not a single verse that says word for word the earth is flat. But just like any other doctrine or theology, you have to take a collection of verses. You have to see what the entire Bible teaches. And it's quite obvious that it teaches a still flat, flat, basically not a ball, right? Like obviously there's valleys and mountains.
Level, topographical, non-rotating plane.
Yes. And so to me, if you were to take this statement and study it, you could literally find all the places that Global Vision is guilty of doing something wrong. Everything they accuse the flat earth community of doing, they did.
Amazing.
I mean, the only thing that I can see in here that may be kind of accurate is how he said we were heckling, though we weren't. It wasn't heckling. It was basically standing up in areas that he was outright lying.
Correct.
Right? Heckling's the wrong word.
Yep. And to say that, go ahead.
I was just saying, and like you and I talked about, there is no straw manning the globe, right? Because people know what the globe is. The problem with flat earth is not everyone knows exactly what we believe. So people get a long way by accusing us of being dumb using examples that we don't actually believe in. It's called a straw man argument. It's hard to do that with the globe. You can't say, well, globe believers are dumb because there's no magic unicorn that goes from Mars to Venus every year and make people think that that's what globers believe, right? So it's tough. And the tough part is our everyday experience is one of a flat, non-rotating Earth. Like we don't see curvature, we don't experience motion, yet we're supposed to convince people that we live on a flat, non-rotating Earth. And we're supposed to do it in a way that breaks their programming. It's tough.
100%. Let me play a little a clip of what they said about who he called Dean a non-biblical. He called him non-biblical or whatever. Here's a quick clip, 30 seconds.
I gave you the Bible.
I gave you the Bible. I gave more Bible than you did, for a fact, right there. All right.
Oh, really?
That's a fact.
I was at the event and I wrote down every single scripture referenced by Pastor Dean Odell, and it came to 41. And then I referenced every scripture that Pastor Locke spoke about, and it was only 6.
This is called gravity.
So 41 to 6.
41 to 6, and his 6 were questionable at best.
Yeah, we discussed most of them. Wow. I'm almost speechless reading that statement. Like it's shockingly
fake.
False. Yeah.
It's wow. Amazing. But the good thing is a lot of people saw this. There's still big channels that are reviewing it, going over it, and there's going to be a lot of questions. So Matt, you've got your work cut out for you because you are the guy that is out there to help pastors along, and there's a lot of pastors asking questions. So any pastor that's listening to this, you can reach Matt at, what do we reach Matt at?
Yeah, if you're a pastor and you want to talk about it, or you want me to come to your congregation, or you want me to come sit down, just reach out to Matt at stillrock.org. Okay. And if you can, you can obviously message me on any social media platform that messaging is available. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Telegram. I'm on Twitter. And I'm at Matt, son of Chris on all those things. But if you want to shoot me an email, Matt at stillrock.org. And man, I would love to talk to you about it.
And for those of you that have the app, if you hit the biblical section, the top video there is called Dear Pastor by Matt, which we mentioned earlier. And it's a great 7 minutes, I think, that will make you want to have this conversation with Matt, or at least somebody.
Yeah, and I believe that video does have outdated contact info on there. So,
okay.
Yeah. Well, Dave, what else?
I I don't know. I mean, that we kind of juiced up the whole podcast talking about the biblical discussion event of the year for sure. I think we're at a huge turning point in Flat Earth. I think the momentum is unstoppable. There's so many children's books coming out. I'm speaking actually to 4 high school classes again next month. And that's going to be amazing because these kids are asking more and more questions. I'm getting on bigger and bigger podcasts. Other people are doing the same. The TikTok community is waking up tons of people. We have great people like Caleb. And for those of you listening, this is going to come out just before the Flat Earth, True Earth Mount Meru Summit, which if you can't make it to something like Matt and I were just at, something in person, the best is an online 2-day summit put on by Jaron from Jaronism and Austin Whitsitt from Whitsitt Gets It. They have amazing speakers at Health Freedom. There's going to be Dr. Andy Kaufman, David Avocado Wolf, Amanda Vollmer, and then we have tons of Flat Earth stuff. Jay Tolan Media is going to be speaking. I'm on the panel there. Austin Whitsitt has a great presentation, and it's a 2-day, Friday and Saturday. What's the date? December 8th and 9th. And there's a link. You can find all the information at flatearthdave.com. Just scroll down a little bit. You'll see a giant banner. And I highly recommend it. When you sign up, I think the tickets are like $50 for a general admission. And half of your ticket price goes to the presenter of your choice. So you can pick. They figured out a way, because in the truth freedom movement, all the work you've done, you've been highly compensated for it, correct?
Yeah.
So they found a way to bring people together, have an amazing time, and they can also support the people that are doing the presentations. So I highly recommend that. Check it out. I'll be there. It's Friday and Saturday. And if it's like, hey, I can't make it this part, you can listen to it forever. So you can listen to it again and again and again if you miss something. But that's what I have my weekend slated out for, Friday and Saturday. Listening to this. I think it starts Friday in the afternoon, and then it starts Saturday, I think around noon Eastern or something like that, maybe a little later. Then it goes kind of late night, and then we have the big question and answer panel. So I highly recommend people check that out, flatearthdave.com. You can find all my contact information there. You can book me there for a show. Send me memes that you think should be on the app in the photo section. And if you any suggestions, questions, you can reach me there. And also the link to the summit is there. And I'll also, Matt, be speaking at Anarchapulco this year in Mexico, which is the 10th year, huge freedom conference. And again, there's at least 6 speakers there, plus myself, plus the Jeff Berwick, who is the creator of it, the organizer, all flat earthers. Flat earthers are taking over. It's over. The globe is finished.
You need to get me in that one. So yeah, Dave, thanks for letting us know where we can find you. You can find me at Matt, son of Chris, on all my social media. I've got The House That Jesus Built, the book that I wrote. It's on Amazon. And I don't know, Dave, should we do more of these?
We should. Well, let's do one, in uncounted number of weeks in the future.
Let's do it in 2024. What do you say?
That's right around the corner, Matt. Absolutely. Definitely. Right. We're definitely going to do one in 2024.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining. Man, it's been so much fun. We will talk to you guys later.
All right. Thanks. See you, everybody.
Everyone has taught these lies when they go to school, but I'll go back to the ball. Anyone who doesn't love again must love the rulers. I'll go back to the ball. I believe that shit. 'Cause when you take a step back and look at it, everything they show you is CGI. You gotta ask yourself why. You can tell me gravity accounts for space and time, but I'll go back to the ball. I tell you my sense is over Newton and Einstein. I'll go back to the ball. takes is two clear eyes to see the earth don't move. I don't know that too far. We can't believe that shit. 'Cause when we take a step back and look at it, everything they show us is CGI. You really gotta ask yourself, why don't they just take a photograph